everybody. We are going to get started. My name is Gaynor, and Gaynor Grant. I own the cooking school, and today we are doing the street foods of Puerto Rico. This is a new class for us. We've been adding some new classes over the last year, trying to make things a little different, and bring some changes. So the idea today is we're going to make all these dishes on here. You're going to do it under my supervision, and we're going to have fun with food. Okay. What I'd like you to do, if everyone can mute themselves, just so we don't get feedback from each other, from each other's kitchens and everything. But if you have any questions, please interrupt me and ask me. If you missed something I said, or you don't understand what the heck I'm talking about, or I'm going way too fast, which is a common occurrence. I tend to go a little quick sometimes. Although this is the first time I've actually taught this class like this, so I will be a little slower than I sometimes am with classes I've done multiple times. Having it in this order, I'll be a little slow, I think. So the order we are going to do everything in, we are going to start off first doing our marinade for our chicken kebabs. I hope that if you're using bamboo skewers, wood skewers, that you have soaked them. If you haven't, you should put them in water now to soak them. Otherwise, they'll burn when we go to cook them. All right. So we're going to do that first. Then we're going to make our cheese balls, cheese sticks mixture, and put that in the fridge and let it cool. And then we are going to do the first part of the shrimp mofongo dish. And then we're going to move on from there and do the sofrito. And I'll get on to the other things we're going to do later on. All right. So for the chicken, if you haven't already, you want to cut your chicken into bite-sized pieces. I've already put mine, chopped it up into little cubes, not bite-sized, sorry, cube pieces. And I put it in my Ziploc bag already. So you can either mix your marinade ingredients in the bag, or if you've already got your chicken in the bag, then you should mix them together in some sort of bowl. All right. So I have my olive oil. I do apologize, I didn't change that. It should be about a tablespoon of olive oil. I meant to change it from 25 cc to that, and I forgot. But I have about a tablespoon of olive oil thereabouts. I have my adobo seasoning, and then I have my packet of the sazon Goya with cilantro and peppers. Oh, if I can get the thing open. Annatto peppers on here. Oh, yeah, box doesn't want to be opened. So it's just one sachet of this, okay? And you just want to put it into your bowl, mix everything together. If you want it a little spicier, you can put a little bit more in. It's up to you, but you might just want to start off erring on the side of caution. Now, this doesn't look like an awful lot of marinade, but it will be when we put it out with the chicken and we leave it, mush it around. It will it'll work pretty well, because you don't want to have lots and lots of marinade. As long as you've got it in something where you can move it around, then a little amount goes a long way. So I'm going to scrape this in to my bag with my chopped up chicken, and I'm going to leave this at room temperature because we're leaving it for a relatively short time. The benefit of doing that is that the marinade will absorb better, faster than if we put it in the fridge. If you're leaving this overnight, then obviously you need to refrigerate it. So I like to use a Ziploc bag. You can use a glass or ceramic container, but I think the Ziploc bag's great, particularly if you are putting it in your fridge, because it takes up less room. So you want to put it in, and if you've got it in the bag, really mix it around. Get all your chicken coated. Whoops. Make sure the bag doesn't open like mine just did. That's not a good idea. And yeah, just really mix it about. And we're going to leave this to marinate. But I do want you periodically, when you think about it, to give it another smush around like I'm doing, to make sure it gets nice and evenly coated. So I'm going to flatten it out like that, and I'm going to pop it over here, and I'll come back to it and give it another turn around in a minute. And that was really difficult, wasn't it? So that will sit and just, as I say, marinate for as long as we have. So it's probably going to be in there for at least an hour, which is good. The longer it marinates, the better it will be. Okay. So secondly, we're also going to do something pretty simple. We're going to do form our dough for the fish, the cheese balls. I have Gouda cheese here that I grated. If you didn't use Gouda, it's fine. It's just quite common in Puerto Rico to use Gouda cheese, which is kind of strange because it's Swiss cheese originally, but it is used quite a lot. You see it in quite a lot of Puerto Rican recipes, okay? So in here, I have 2 cups of shredded Gouda cheese, okay? And you can either do this by hand, you can do it in the mixer. I'm going to do it by hand. It's not difficult doing it by hand. Basically, we're going to mix everything together, all right? So you want to put in your either your 1 egg or your 2 egg whites. I'm using egg whites, got a load of egg whites left over from a class I did the other day. And I'm going to mix those in first. Now, the egg whites will basically bind the cheese together, as will the whole egg. And then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of cornmeal or flour. Now, if you find when you do this, your mixture's not sticking together, then you can just add a little bit more. It'll just depend on how you measured it, and it'll also depend a bit on how big the eggs are, how big the egg whites was, etc., etc. So you may need to, yeah, mine feels a tad wet. I'm going to grab a tiny bit more actually, because it does feel slightly wet to the touch. And you don't want it to be too dry because you want to make sure it binds together. But it feels a little wet. I think maybe my egg whites were big. Who knows? So I'm going to add a sprinkling. Get the lid off. A sprinkling more of the cornmeal, maybe about another half a tablespoon, something like that. All right, and mix that in. And it should stick together like this. All right, it should be sticking together. If it isn't sticking together, if it's a little dry, add a little bit more egg. If it's a little wet, add a little bit more cornmeal or flour. Okay, get it all mixed together. And then what you want to do is you want to roll them into balls or sticks, whichever you'd like to do. I was going to do sticks, and a friend of mine who is Puerto Rican, he said, oh, no, I was going to do balls. He said, oh, sticks are more common. But I think I'm going to do balls because I think they're a little easier to do. But it's up to you. If you're doing a stick, you probably want about 2 tablespoons. If you're doing balls, you probably just want about a tablespoon of the dough. Squeeze it in your hand. A little bit too much here. And I'm going to spread a little bit of cornmeal on a cookie sheet here. I'm going to put them on so they don't stick to it. Okay. So, or you can use flour. So I'm just going to pull out balls, squeeze, and you can see how they're sticking to my hand, how they're sticking together. So they're nice. They're all sticking together without any difficulty. I'm not getting lumps of cheese coming off. And it's not all just like really sticking to my hand. So just roll them into, let's say, balls, or to say if you want to do sticks, it's entirely up to you. We should get probably a dozen or so out of this, maybe a bit more. Depends how big the balls are. And the benefit of putting these in the fridge helps them to firm up and stick together a little better, which may mean they're less likely to break when we go to fry them a bit later on, okay? Try and keep them fairly uniform size if you can. This means they'll cook evenly. Sometimes in a recipe, you will see roll them in breadcrumbs, but as you've got the cornmeal in here and the fact that you are refrigerating them, you don't need to do that, but you can. If you have a lot of trouble cooking them, then you can get a little bit of breadcrumbs and roll them in some breadcrumbs. It might make them a little less likely to break when you fry them, but you can do that later if you want to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, I've got like 14, I think. Great. Something like that. There we go. You always get left with a bit at the end. Doesn't quite make a big one. Oh, I don't know. I'm okay. Okay. All right. So that is my last one. In a little bowl. And then I am going to pop these in the fridge. And they can go in the fridge. I mean, if you weren't going to cook these till tomorrow, you'd want to cover them with some plastic wrap. But as we're going to cook them in an hour or so, they do not need to be covered. Okay. So far, so good, right? I'm just going to talk a bit about the mofongo. Mofongo just made with plantains is very, very popular. This is mofongo with a protein, and we're going to use shrimp. Okay, but the shrimp are not going to go in until the very end when we're ready to eat them, because they take a very short time to cook, and we don't want to overcook them or let them sit cooked for a long time. So grab my tray here. So on here I have my shrimp, I have my onion, tomato, pepper, tomato puree, my wine, my I have clam juice here, I have my garlic, and then I also have excuse me, vinegar and olive oil, and obviously, as I say, the oil I have preheating over here, which we're going to do in a little bit. Okay, so as I say, the mofongo, basically what it is cooked mashed plantains. Okay, and I often serve with the protein, and that's what we're doing here, with the protein with the little bit of a tomato sauce with it as well. Okay, what we're going to do first, we are going to take this recipe down and including step 5. Okay, so we're going to start off now with the plantain. We're going to peel them. You want to cut them in sort of 1-inch pieces, and you need your fat fryer on at about 350. If you have a fat fryer, if you're just doing it in fat on your stove, you want it kind of medium hot. All right, and you'll see as you cook them whether it's hot or too hot or not hot enough. That's the beauty of the fat fryer, really, is the fact that it has a set temperature. I didn't have a fat fryer for a long time because I don't fry a huge amount, but I must admit, for doing something like this, it's very, very beneficial. I have mine preheated here already, but if you want to put yours on, I would put it on now, so that by the time we've cut our plantains and stuff, it's going to be hot. My shrimp here are big. I am just going to, if you have to do this, you want to take the tails off and devein them if you need to. If you don't need to, if they're already deveined, that's great. But you do want to peel them, have them peeled, tailed, and deveined. Mine just have tails on, so I'm just taking all the tails off. And I have lovely big, they're huge, these are really nice big shrimp. Just kind of look nice on a dish like this because they sort of sit there very proudly on the dish. Now, obviously on the street, they would have the big fat fryers going, the big sort of wok type fat fryers going all day long. I got everything? Yes, I did. Good. So that's my shrimp, which are going to go in a bit later on, okay? All right, so for the, what we'll do, let's prep the veggies first, and then we'll come back and do the plantain if you're waiting for your oil to heat up. So what we're going to do is we're going, excuse me, we're going to saute onions, peppers, and tomatoes a little bit later with minced garlic. So what we need to do, I have my green pepper already chopped up because I used some for a class last night, but we do want to chop up our onion and our tomato fairly small, okay? Just gonna stick this here a second. So you want to cut it into sort of a small dice. All right. About a quarter cup. It doesn't really matter if it's slightly more. I think I'm going to use all of this tomato because it seems silly to only use part of it. So I'm probably going to have more like a third of a cup, but it really doesn't matter that much. It's always good to have everything prepped, chopped up how you want it before you go to cook, particularly when you're doing something like sauteing, because you don't want something to be sauteing away and overcooking while you're still getting your veggies sorted out. Okay, so that is my my tomato, and I'm going to pop that in a bowl. And I'm going to add my onion to it as well. And then I'm going to cut up my onion too. Now, with your onion, I've got a quarter of an onion here because it's a big onion. We want about a quarter of a cup. The best way to chop an onion is to cut your onion from the root to the stem, even if you only got a quarter piece. So I have the root on this side, I have the stem on this side, because then I can make even size cuts into the onion like this, and I'm going to try and keep the root intact. So I'm making slices down my quarter of onion like this, equal distance apart before I go to slice it. So I have it like this, and it's cut in pieces like that. Okay, so I've got it, but the root is still intact. So what that means is then I can hold this like this, and then I can cut my onion in fairly equal size pieces. It's really important with all vegetables, particularly onions, that when you're going to saute them, the pieces are pretty much the same size, so they all cook at the same rate. All right. So I'm putting those in with my tomatoes. So I have my tomatoes, my onion, and I have my pepper. And then we're going to chop up 3 cloves of garlic. All right. So we want to.
Hey, Gaynor.
Yes.
Are you already sauteing the tomatoes and onions, or did you just put that
off?
No,
no, I've just put them to one side.
Got it.
All right. I'm just going to prep the stuff first, okay? So I have my garlic here. I actually have 4 cloves because one of them is really, really tiny. So hitting them like that will loosen the skins, and then you can take the skins off. And you can just mash these a little bit because they're going to get mashed again in a minute when we move on to a later stage. So I'm just going to cut these in a couple of pieces like this. And I'm going to let those sit in my little bowl. Now keep your garlic separate from your veggies, okay? So I have all that done. Yes, I do. Okay. So what I'm going to do now with the plantains, you want to peel them, and then we're going to cut them into about 1-inch pieces, okay? 1-inch chunks. I'm going to put my trash in, otherwise I make such a mess. There we go. So peel your plantain off. This one I bought the other day. It's got a little ripe, actually. I prefer the greener ones, but it was what I could get. Now, if you've never fried a plantain before, kind of interesting. These two dishes we're doing with the plantains. I think the other one is a little tricky. This is not. This is easier, but it's an interesting thing to do. I think. Just be careful how you peel them off. You don't want to take all the plantain with it, but you just want to get off that outside skin. It's a lot harder to peel than a banana, but obviously in the banana family. So. Yep. There we go. Ooh. The greener they are, the harder they are to peel. They're a little easier to use if they're green, really. Right, let me. You cut it down, like down into the skin. You can usually peel off part of it if it won't come off on its own. There we go. All right. Last bit. Come on. Ah, it doesn't want to come off. All right. Get this off. There we go. This last piece doesn't want to come off. There, got it. Finally. Okay. So 1 inch pieces. All right. Yeah, so about 1 inch. Cut a little bit of brown off there. There we go. Now this one's a little skinnier, but I'm still going to do 1 inch pieces. Okay. So with your fat fryer, it's making sure mine's hot enough. Yes, it is. So what I suggest you do, you want some paper towel on your either on a cookie sheet or on your workstation to put these on. I'm going to use a tray here so that I don't get all that oil all on the chopping board. All right. So what I suggest you do, put one in first, and it should start to sort of sizzle on the bottom. If it's not, then I would say your oil is not hot enough. Now, what we're looking for is a light golden color on the outside, not brown. All right. Because these are going to be cooked twice. And I would do about half at a time, unless you have a really big pot like I do. I can probably pop all of mine in, but I'm going to wait and do a few at a time. So just till they're golden, and then once they're lightly golden, pull them out. Just really lightly golden. Let me just find one that's almost done. Almost. All right, very, very lightly golden. Just a tiny, tiny bit of color on them, all right? Oh, somebody joining us a little bit late. That's all right. All right. Hello. Good afternoon. So just a tiny bit of color. You can barely see that from there, I should think, because with the lights and everything, it doesn't really show. Hi, how are you? Is it Anna?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Hi. We are we have marinated our chicken.
Okay.
All right. So you might want to go ahead and do that. And then we have also put together our dough, which is really easy for the cheese balls or sticks. Basically, you mix those ingredients together. It's the cheese with the cornmeal and the egg yolk or egg. All right, egg white or so you just want to mix those together, and then we've just started prepping the the plantain for the mofongo. So I don't know whether you want to maybe start with that and come back and do the marinade in a minute. You can do that. That would be fine. For the mofongo, we've chopped up our onion, our tomato, and our green pepper, and smashed our garlic. And now we've just started literally just cooking the plantains, where we literally put them in hot fat for about a minute and a half, so they're very, very lightly colored. And then we're going to let them cool, and we're going to smash them, and they're going to go back in the fat. So that's where we are. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
So when the rest of them, I've got to come out in a minute. We're going to flatten these. All right. Now you can flatten them with a spatula. You can flatten them with your hand if they're not too hot. But we want to flatten them out. And what that does, that enables them to cook through a bit more, so that it's like a bit like mashed potatoes in a way. All right. But don't try and flatten them with the hot pieces that just come out of the oven, out of the hot fat. That's not a good idea. And you can use, I'm going to use, you could use something like a big flat spatula like this, or your hand, or I've got a flat meat pounder, which I'm going to use. All right. So the ones that are cool-ish, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take, let me find a cool one. There we go. Take, let's say, either my hand or a plate or something, and I'm just going to squash these down into a flattish disc. And then you may have to pull them up like this. So it's kind of like that. This just means we can cook them a bit more. So do a few. And then we're going to put these back in to the hot fat until they are golden brown. And if you've got very underripe plantains, which is a good thing, they're going to be harder to flatten. All right. So don't press the soft ones too hard, or else they'll all fall apart. Well, you're going to mash them all anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. Whoop. I seem to keep picking up the hot ones. There we go. So just flatten, and you'll see the shape of the the plantain slice right in the middle. Yeah, I thought it was a good thing to do these with, as I've got this. You can't do it with a regular one because obviously it's got the, the indents in, but if you've got one that's got a flat side, it works pretty well. So the idea is now we fry these again so they're crispy, and then we're going to mash them up. So if you can see, I've got sort of little discs. So I am going to put a few of mine in, drop them in gently, and again, nice, rich golden brown. All right, do a few at a time, and then you can carry on squashing the other ones. There we go. Just keep an eye on them because you don't want to burn them, but you want them to be nice, rich golden brown. Plantains are one of my favorite foods when I'm anywhere, like Mexico, Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, anywhere like that. I love mangoes. I love plantains. Well, they may stick a bit to whatever you're squashing them with, but don't worry about it. all going to get mashed up. Oop, that one's that's the end piece. It's really, woo, quite firm. I'm just going to throw that away. I don't like the look of it. All right, there we go. All right, where's my, so turn them over once if you need to, you know, if they're not getting covered. And then, as I say, you might want another piece of towel to catch all the fat. So what's going to happen with these, we're going to take them out and we're going to just drain them. And then we're going to mash them together. Now you can use a potato masher for this. I have, which I think is going to be enough room. I have this beautiful, beautiful mortar and pestle that I bought when I was in Mexico. It's made from lava rock. And I'm going to use this to pound mine in. Oh, it's a fluff in there or something. So I'm going to do that, but I am going to drain them first. So you want them to look, whoops, like this. You see, guys? Ooh, I'm dripping it all over the place. Really nice, rich golden color, okay? But do drain them first, otherwise it's going to be far too oily. A couple more in. A lot of fat, not a lot of deep fat frying today. Just the nature of the beast. Should take maybe 3 or 4 minutes, probably, depending on the size and depending on how much that particular piece got cooked the first time round.
Dana, mine are a bit crispy like a French fry. Is that what you want?
Yes, yes. It should be crispy on the outside. Yeah, that's right. And then we're going to mash it. So you're going to use a potato mash or whatever, you're going to mash them up. But yeah, because this is them cooked. This is it, because basically we roll them into balls and then that's put in the sauce with the shrimp at the end. So that's they're fully done at this point. Except we're going to mash them up. And if you've got some broken bits, you can chuck those in as well. I've got a couple of little pieces of frayed off. That's no big deal. Good idea not to touch the spoon I just had in the fire. There we go. And I'm hoping I can get all of mine in here. I might not be able to. I might have to mash these in 2 lots. I'll see. All right. I'm just going to start mashing these a little bit just because they're sitting here. So as I say, you can do this with a potato masher as well. I loved it. I wanted one of these when we were in Mexico. They were preparing guacamole at our table with one of these. And I thought, I've got to have one. And then when I went to try and put it on in my hand luggage, they wouldn't let me. They made me wrap it up and send it in baggage, unfortunately. But at least I got it back. I've actually seen them at Rainier's on the strip. They have them as well. Well, they're probably a lot more expensive. I think I paid about $5 for mine. It was great. Oh, this one's a little soft. I'll pop that one back in. Wants to be nice and crispy on the outside. That one wasn't quite as crispy as I wanted. Getting oil all over my recipes here. Obviously, with the regular size mortar and pestle, you wouldn't be able to do this, but as I've got the big one, it's great. The mother of all. It's so good. I mean, that regular mortar and pestle, the stuff slides around because this is lava rock and it's raw. You know, it's a rough. The stuff sticks properly to it, which is great. You know, it's just what you want, really. Whoop. There we go. Now we are going to use our fat again a little bit later, but you might want to turn your heat down on it a little bit so it doesn't get too hot. I'll give you plenty of warning as to when we want to turn it up again. All right. All right, just waiting for those last few bits. And then what we're going to do, we're going to move on to mixing those together, make balls out of them, and then we'll saute the vegetables and add the additional minced garlic to it and cook for 30 seconds, put the tomato puree in, cook it, add the wine, cook until it's nearly evaporated. Then we're going to leave it at that point. Right, I'm just going to put the lid on this and carefully move it out of the way for a little bit. All right, so I am going to add the rest of my plantains in here, and hopefully I'm not going to get it all over the place. And I'm going to mash them up. Now to this, you are going to add those 3 cloves of garlic and your teaspoon of vinegar and your tablespoon of olive oil. All right, so teaspoon of vinegar, tablespoon of olive oil, which I have in here. That's going to go in there like that. Rest of the plantains are going in. I may have to transfer this to a big bowl. We'll see if I can do it without getting the stuff all over the place. I just want to make sure they're mashed through. So as I mash them down, they should cut down, but I may have to just finish them off in a bowl because I've got quite a lot here. Oh, they taste great already. I just tasted a bit. All right, I've got it pretty mashed. I am going to move it to a bowl just to make it a little easier to make sure I've got that garlic fully mashed, because the garlic seems to be sort of scooting to the bottom a little bit. I probably could, if I was doing it more slowly, I could probably do it, but I just want to make sure I don't get big lumps of garlic in there. But it did do a good job of squashing the plantain originally, and probably maybe a bit easier than you guys had. Make sure you really squash that garlic too. Garlic probably takes more effort to squash than the plantain does. Don't do this in a glass bowl, or what I'm doing anyway. It's so nice because this is heavy. It's great, and it's really pounding these. It works really well. couple more bits of garlic in there that have been a bit resistant. All right, I think that's pretty good. So I am now going to roll these into balls and put them to one side. Okay, so hopefully it's not too hot for you to handle. Size-wise is up to you. I'm doing them a bit smaller than the other ones. I'm doing them probably like no more than 1 inch across, but it's up to you really. Squeeze them firmly together. Have lots of oil all over your hands. You're getting good at rolling balls today, right? Oh, bit of garlic skin there escaped. It's funny, that little tiny bit of vinegar kind of adds a lot. So you can make these any size you want. If you want to make them real small, you can do that. That one's a wee bit big, actually, I think. Make him a bit smaller. This is a bit like, you know, like meatballs, because we're going to put the sauce over the top of this. So. Have nice smooth hands after doing this with all that fat on your hands. I have a lot of garlic left in the bottom. Kind of sunk to the bottom bit. Whoever gets the garlicky ones. Woo! Good idea to do this one-handed in case the phone goes and you've got grease all over your hands. One last small one, I think, which I think is going to be more garlic than plantain, but I love that one. Okay, and then they can just sit to one side. And you may want to wash your hands. All right, so when you finish those, just pop them to one side. Give your meat a quick massage. Oh, without opening the bag, which I just did. A bit aggressive there, and it came out. Escaped. There. All right, so now what we are going to do, we are going to saute our vegetables. So I have like a medium-sized skillet here, okay? And I have my onions and my peppers and my tomatoes right here. So you want to put just a little bit of oil in your pan. I apologize, I don't have that on the recipe, but any little bit olive oil in the bottom of your pan. And heat that up. Now you should have an additional 2 cloves of garlic, which we are going to mince up. So while your oil is heating, we want to mince this garlic nice and fine, all right? So this time I'm going to peel them, but I'm going to mince it very, very fine. So I'm going to do the same thing to get the skins off my garlic cloves. And then I'm going to mince very fine. So when you mince, the front part of your knife stays on your chopping board and the back part rotates backwards and forwards, bringing your garlic in, making small little cuts, but keeping the pointy end on the chopping board, all right? Nice and small. Okay, like that, nice and tiny. All right, I think my oil is hot enough. Tiny drop more in there. So I am going to add those 3. That's the green peppers, my tomatoes, and my onions all together in my pan. And I'm going to cook these for about 2 or 3 minutes over a medium-high heat. And then we're going to add the garlic, cook for an additional 30 seconds. And then add the tomato puree and then the wine. And cook it till it evaporates, and then we're going to turn this off. And finish it a bit later. Sorry, my grate wasn't sitting down flat. I cleaned my stovetop today and my grate was sitting up a bit. So in those 3 minutes, hopefully our onions are going to soften a little bit. And before we put the garlic in, if we put the garlic in at the beginning with a high heat, it's going to, it'll burn a bit and then taste bitter, not good. While I think about it, if you would put your ovens on 350 for when we need them in a little bit, because we're going to use those to cook our plantain baskets, which we're going to make in a little bit. Simple little sauce this, and it would just be served in a little, polystyrene cup or whatever you'd be given it, with the mofongo balls in the bottom and then the shrimp sauce just poured on the top. You should get a bit of liquid coming out of your tomatoes as well. Now, if you find, because your tomatoes aren't wonderful this time of year, you can always enrich this with a little bit of tomato paste or even a tiny bit of sugar. Sugar's always good in a tomato sauce of any sort, particularly when the the tomatoes aren't good. All right. All right, I think that's a good time, probably about 3 minutes. I'm going to put my garlic in. That's my 2 cloves of minced garlic. I'm going to go in, stir that around, let this cook for about 30 seconds or so so the garlic gets aromatic. And then we're going to add our tomato paste, cook it for a minute, and then add our wine. And we're going to cook it until the wine's all evaporated, which means you get the concentrated flavor of the wine in the little sauce. And then the fish stock, the clam juice, fish stock, whatever you have, we're going to keep that. That is going to get added later with the shrimp. All right, so my 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. Scrape that all in. Give it a good stir around. Let that cook for about a minute or so. We're working with a small amount here, so sometimes it doesn't take quite that amount of time for it to cook, but as long as we keep an eye on it, it should be good. All right, and then I'm going to add my wine. So that was, what have we got? Quarter cup of wine, I forgot, I think that's what it was. Yeah. Oh, half a cup of wine. I need to put a bit more wine in. I only measured out a quarter cup. We need more wine. Can't read my own writing. Yeah, can't see what I'm, there we go. All right, and turn your heat up a little bit. And you want to let that wine pretty much evaporate. So basically your liquid should look a little fairly dry, okay? And in an open pan, that should happen fairly quickly as long as you've got your heat sort of medium high, all right? And then when we get to that point, that will be the end of step 5. And we are going to stop there, as I said, and we're going to wait and add the shrimp and the stock, salt and pepper, and cook just till the shrimp turn pink, which will be a minute or 2, maybe 2 for my great big ones. And then we will turn it off and add some fresh cilantro and then just serve it over some of the mofongo. Now, the mofongo you can put in the oven to keep warm. I think I will do that. I'll put them in the oven a little bit to warm them up a little bit, but you don't have to, all right? So they'll go in the bottom of the bowl, and then the shrimp tomato sauce will just get served over the top with a little bit of cilantro over the top of that, or parsley. By having this heat high, that's how your stuff will evaporate, and an open space enables it to evaporate pretty quickly too. Whereas if you're in a small pot, you haven't got a bigger surface area, so it doesn't evaporate as quickly. So really, you're reducing this till just before it starts to stick to the pan, all right? Okay, you can see there, it's really just the mixture, not very much liquid left in there at all now. So I'm going to turn it off, particularly as it's going to sit for a bit. Some more of that liquid, the water content will evaporate while it's sitting. So I've turned it off, just push it right to the back of your stove, and then we're going to leave it, okay? Mine does taste fairly sweet, so hopefully I'm not going to have to add anything else to it other than salt and pepper, which I will add at the end. All right? How's everyone doing? We good? Thumbs up? Good. All right. How are we doing for time? Oh, we're good. Okay, So the next thing we're going to do on your last page, we're making our own sofrito. You can buy this, but it's easy to make, and I thought we might as well make our own. We're going to do this either in a blender or a food processor. I think a food processor is a little easier. If you do it in a blender, you might need to add a little bit of water to it, okay? But I like to use the food processor for this, for that reason. Okay. So in the sofrito, half a head of garlic, okay? 1 medium onion. I've got 2/3 of the big one. Half a red pepper, a green pepper, a tomato, and some fresh cilantro that I have over there, and fresh parsley. Okay. Now, all we need to do with this is to break this into chunks because it's going to go into our mixer, and this is going to look like pesto when it comes out, guys. Okay. So that's what we're sort of aiming for. I have got this plugged in. Yes. I'm losing my earbud. So you want to, obviously with the garlic, you need to again, peel your garlic, hit it and peel it, and then that will all go in. And then you can chop your other vegetables into chunks and put those into your food processor or your blender. Okay. So make sure you don't hit your garlic lightly at first, because otherwise you might shoot it all over the kitchen, and that's not a great idea. So about half a head of garlic, a lot of garlic, but that's okay. Keep the cold away, colds away, I should say. I wish it kept COVID away. It'd be great, wouldn't it? I'd eat it every day, raw. So pop your garlic cloves in. Make sure you haven't got any skin on there. But they say it is good for you, garlic, and it is supposedly meant to help keep colds away, but I don't know. Bit of an old wives' tale, but it might be true. So I'm sure somebody will decide it's good for COVID or something at some point going forward, but we'll see. Okay, have I got it all? No, one more piece right here. Don't want to waste any. I would say you can't be too rich of too much garlic, in my opinion. All right, so that is my garlic. Oh, tiny little clove here, which I'm going to add. And then with my other veggies, I'm just going to cut them in pieces because they will get pureed in here. Oh, so my onion, obviously peel off the outside. Cut it into pieces. Preferably cut the root off. It usually works better that way. This is the beauty of doing it in a food processor or a blender, or you can even do them in like a Ninja or something. So in there, and then as I say, it's a half. The recipe calls for half a red pepper, 1 large tomato, and a whole green pepper. So more green pepper than red traditionally. And then my green pepper. And then the nice thing about it, we don't have to chop up herbs up either, because they can all go in as well. So you want about a cup of cilantro, thereabouts, okay? And about half a cup of parsley. So this is going to make more than we're going to use, but you can keep this in your fridge, and then you could also freeze it. I suggest if you freeze it, put it in ice cube trays and make sure you know what it is, and then you'll have pieces of it as opposed to the whole thing, which you're not going to use it all at once. All right, so with your herbs, so about a cup loosely packed cilantro. Now mine, I'm going to give mine a wash because I haven't washed this. Oops. I can get it out of the thing here. Ah, there we go. I'm just going to chop the main thick part of the stems off at the bottom, and then just rinse this because obviously it's dirty. And give it a good squeeze in a towel or paper towel because you don't want all that water in there. Okay. And then I'm going to do half a cup of parsley as well. Again, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfectly measured. You know, close enough. Same thing, I'm taking the main stems off the bottom here. Now, bear in mind, the other ones will get chopped up, so it doesn't matter if you've got a few pieces of stem in there. Usually you don't use the stems when you chop things up because it doesn't chop up very well, but when you've got it in the food processor, it should be fine. Now, I'm going to pulse mine because mine's very full, and I know that if I just put it on, it's going to stuff at the bottom is going to mix up. But I'm probably going to have to take the lid off anyway and move it around a little bit. Right, parsley in. So I'm putting my parsley in as well, pushing it down, and then I'm going to put my lid on. And again, if you're doing this in a blender, you might want to do it in 2 lots. Is that done up? Yes, it is. By pulsing it, it helps it move around a little bit. Pulses it, so usually good if you've got quite a lot. But you probably want to stop and give the stuff at the top a kind of push down. Depends on the size of your thing. This one is not a terribly big one. This is only like a 8 cup or something, I think. Something like that. So you'll get there. There it's going. The top's going down. Now, I remember when I first saw this recipe, I assumed that this would have oil in it as well, but it doesn't. My parsley got wound round the thing at the top. That's so funny. I thought it looks kind of funny. I was like, why is that spinning around in there? And it was because it had wound itself around the top of the blade that sits at the top. So get it nice and fine. It's like a pesto, really. Okay, so it looks like pesto. Okay, so I'm just going to put this to one side for now and undo my blender. Okay. All right, so that's a sofrito. Get my little list. Okay. All right, so what we are going to do now, we are going to cook our chicken because it will hold. We're gonna grill it, and now you can grill it one of 2 ways. You can either grill it under the broiler, or you can grill it on a grill pan. I'm gonna do it under the broiler because I've got quite a lot. So what you want to do is take your broiler pan and cover it with some foil. so that your chicken doesn't stick to your broiler pan. Okay, just like that. So now what I'm going to do, I have my sticks here, which have been soaking in water. Okay, and I'm going to thread my chicken onto the sticks. Now you probably want to do, depending on how big your pieces are, you might want to do 4 or 5 pieces. Depends how long your skewers are. Make sure that there's a little gap. You know, they're not really tight together. All right, otherwise they're not going to cook. So and if you've got skinny bits, you might want to fold those in half. So I'm going to do, let's say 4 or 5 pieces on each skewer. Okay, depending on how they look, but just not really a space, but like a slight gap between each piece so that they cook fairly evenly. All right. And then, oh, also, if I were you, I would spray your foil so they don't stick to the foil. Okay. So just lay them on, and you can stagger them. I'll show you what I mean in a minute, so you can get more on. Whoop. Now, depending on how big your skewers are, my skewers are fairly small. So I'm probably going to make more of them, but it doesn't matter. I've got a couple of little pieces, you know, it was the end pieces of the thighs. Of course, the thighs are the most flavorful. That's why they're ideal for this. So I kind of folded that piece in half to put it onto the skewer because it was a little skinny. Because obviously the thighs are all different size, you know, parts of the thighs are all different sizes and everything. So it's hard to get them absolutely even. And you may find, you know, that some pieces you're going to have to cook a wee bit longer. Smells really good. Getting hungry. Didn't really eat lunch. My lunch today was a leftover cream puff from yesterday's class, which was not a good thing to eat really, but I just decided that's what I wanted for my lunch. So I had that. So leave a little gap between each skewer, and then you can do, like when you come do the second row, you can kind of do this. Oops. You can kind of have them sit like here in between if you need to. I think I had a good 2 pounds of meat, maybe a bit more. Now these are going to take probably about 7 minutes or so on the first side, and then another 5 minutes on the second side. And I just thought we'd do these now because then we can put those in a low oven and they'll hold while we finish. Just down in the and I'll finish our other things. Whoops! I didn't want to cook the shrimp ahead of time because I don't want that to get overcooked. Slimy little devils, these, aren't they? Just hope I'm going to spear myself. And the thing slides. There we go. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Probably going to have it. I'm probably going to about 10, I think, because my skewers are quite small. Oh, get one more now, I think. Yeah, this is a skinny piece, so I've kind of folded it in half so it doesn't burn, or it doesn't overcook, I should say. One more little one. Actually, I'm going to put these little bits on the end of here because this is I've got small pieces left in there which I don't really want to put on a skewer on their own. It's a biggish one, but that can go on there. Yeah, if you've got bits left, put them like on the top of the other ones, like that. Oh, yeah, this can go on there. So one can go right there. Okay. So you want to put these under your broiler, all right? And I'm guessing, depends on your broiler, but I'm thinking, and it wants to be 2/3 of the way up, not right underneath. I've probably got about 3 to 4 inches between my burner and my chicken, all right? I'm just going to keep an eye on it and see how they're doing. But usually it'll be about 7 minutes, and then we'll turn them over, and it should be sort of 5 on the second side. All right, get rid of this yucky mess. And I'm going to wipe my counter down, and then I'm going to turn my board over because I don't want all that raw chicken around here. There we go. I'll flip my board over on the other side. Okay, how's everybody doing? You're all terribly quiet. Am I keeping you really busy? Is that what it is? Okay, so remember about our chicken. You'll start to smell it, so that's always a good thing. You can tell when we're getting close to it. All right. Right. Now we are going to do. Okay, we've done the mofongo. We're going to do the tostone. Now these are the trickiest. This is the trickiest thing to do, I think, because I know I sent you that little diagram. I have one of those contraptions to put my pieces in, but I understand you probably don't. So the instructions I've given you, turn your heat back up on your oil as well. So it's back up to 350. The instructions I've given you, because if you partially cut these, flatten them out, curve them into a shape like a little tart or basket, when you put them back in the oil, they're just going to go like that and open up, and they're going to go crispy, and you won't be able to fold them. Now, I can do it in here because I can take it out, flatten it, put it in here, put the other piece on top, and then cook them individually like that, all right? But I came up with an alternative because we are using our muffin tin. So what I am not suggesting, this is what I looked at we should do. We'll do the first cooking of them for a minute or two. We will flatten them out a bit like we just did before, and then we will place them in our muffin tins. They're not going to come all the way up, in the muffin tins, so they're a little cup shape. And we're going to pop them in the oven for about 5 or 7 minutes. What that will do will dry them out enough that they'll hold that shape, we hope. All right. Obviously, they don't do this on the street. They've got these sort of things to do it with. They just put them in and out with the hot oil, but I'm sure you don't have one. Once we've done that, we're going to take them out of there, and hopefully they will be dry enough that they hold their shape. So then we can put them back in the hot fat for a minute or two So they're fully cooked and they're still cup shaped. All right, you get my drift? And then we'll make the filling to go in them. All right, and they go back in the oven in the muffin tins for a short time. Okay. All right. So your let's just look at all our ingredients. So I have my plantains. These are for our cups, okay? And then our filling is ground beef and salt, and that's some sofrito, tomato sauce, water, packet of regular saffron. You can use the same one, it doesn't matter. Some olives, and the cheddar cheese is to go on the top, okay? So, oh, did we lose somebody? I think we might have done. I hope we didn't. So what we're going to do first, I am going to actually start the filling first, and we'll come back to these guys in a minute. All right. So let's look down to number 3. All right. In a large skillet, I'll use a different one actually. We're going to place our ground beef. Put your pot on medium high. And you don't need any oil. You're going to put the ground beef in the pan. And let it heat up, let it cook. We're going to add a little bit of salt to that and stir until it's evenly brown. All right. The chicken's starting. It's taking a while. That's okay though. So evenly brown on this, okay? So the idea is this mixture goes into our plantain cups. While that's cooking, you can start peeling your plantains if you want to. Got to keep you busy, right? Now, the initial cooking of these plantains is going to be just like we did before. So let all, get the meat get nice and brown, right? Now, if you're doing your chicken on an open grill, they'll take less time to cook, all right? But you have to watch them more carefully, I think. So. Move your meat around so it gets evenly browned. All right. Just do keep an eye on your meat, guys. golden brown on the outside. They should be pretty much cooked on the inside. So just turn them over. All right. So we're going to cut our plantains the same into, we're going to cut them and peel them and slice them crosswise into 4. Okay. Right. Okay. So, sorry, 4 pieces. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Chicken's taking a bit longer than I thought, but that's okay. Now, I don't have a lot of extra liquid in the bottom of my pan. If you do, once your meat is brown, I want you to drain most of that off. I don't. I have pretty lean meat. Once your meat is brown, then drain off any extra liquid. If it's in there, if there isn't, then don't worry about it. And then I want you to turn your heat right down low. Now to this, we are going to add about 6 tablespoons of that lovely sofrito we just made, okay? About 6 tablespoons of the sofrito. This is a 2 tablespoon measure. I'm going to stir that in, and then I'm adding my tomato sauce. 6 tablespoons of tomato sauce is going to go in as well. And then we want about 3 tablespoons of water. I'm just mixing that in with my, so 3 tablespoons of water. Your 1 packet of your sazon seasoning. Sazon. Woo. Get it open. Oh, wait, there we go. Packets are not easy to open. And my sazon seasoning are in, and then my olives. You don't have to put olives in if you don't like them. Just going to chop them up a little bit.
What kind of olives are you using?
I'm using black ones. More traditionally, it's green ones. I don't like green ones.
Okay.
So it's up to you. It's up to you. It's funny, I love black olives, don't like green ones. So I changed it to the traditional recipe to the black ones. All right, what else do I need there? Water sauce. Okay, all right. So we want to reduce the heat to a really low simmer. And I am actually going to put a lid half on, half off this because we're doing a small amount, we might get a little bit too much evaporation, so that's not big enough. So I'm going to do the lid half on, half off, which I wouldn't normally do if I had, sorry about that, if I had a lot of this, but when we do a small amount, sometimes the evaporation is a little too intense. All right, so that's going to sit for about 15 minutes. I'm going to check my chicken because I'm sure it's ready to turn. Yes, it is. So I'm going to turn my chicken pieces over. I'm going to show you guys what they look like. So they're lightly brown, guys, okay? Can you see? So I'm going to turn them over and let those continue cooking. Until they're lovely. All right, that there. Okay. All right, so I took some tomato paste out because I had homemade tomato sauce, which I didn't know was quite strong enough. So I don't think I'm going to use it. But the cheese is to go on the top, all right, when we finish, before they go in the oven. All right, so get rid of some of this, and we will cook our second batch of plantains. So we have bigger pieces this time. So we're going to end up, they're going to squish out a bit more. Now you might want to maybe put a little bit of flour on your chopping board so that these don't stick. You'll see when we take them out. All right, I'll show you in a second. All right, so this is similar to the way we did the last ones. Okay, so we've got our oil preheated. We're going to fry the plantains until they're lightly golden, not brown. Smash each piece with the bottom of a small plate or a large flat spatula to make a small disc. Then we're going to put these in the bottom of a well-oiled muffin tin and to form a small cup, and then those are going to go in our oven for about 7 or 8 minutes. So with your muffin tin, what did I do with my big one? Took one out. Here it is. I want you to, I know these are going to be oily, but I still want you to oil. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. Oil your pans because they might stick. All right. Just like that. Just oil. Okay. So bring your oil carefully to where you can see it. 350. And I'm going to put my pan right here out the way. And you will want some parchment paper as well. So I'm going to put these in. I'm going to put half of them in at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And I'm going to get a little bit more paper towel to drain them on. Now I'm going to use my mortar and pestle, my pounder again for mine, but you can use a small plate too. That works as well if you push it down. Don't do this with it though. When you put it on, you want to just press it down because you smush it backwards and forwards. What tends to happen is they break. All right. So again, we're looking for lightly golden on the outside of these pieces, no more than that. All right. I'm going to let them cool for a minute before we squash them. So I'm going to put a little bit of flour just here to stop, very lightly, to stop them sticking to the counter when I squash them. All right, I'm lightly golden, almost on the bottom. Okay, let's see. Almost. So lightly golden. Pull them out. So we're going to have bigger discs here so they'll fill the pan, the muffins in a little better. All right. So let those cool for a second. Recheck my chicken. I've just put my mofongo underneath my chicken just to warm it up a bit. And then when I turn the oven off, I'm going to leave it in there to warm it up, okay? So that it's a bit warmer. Are we going to eat these now? Or are we going to eat them later on? Who knows? All right, so I'm going to start squashing these guys. I'm going to put a bit of flour on here as well. So just try and squash them fairly evenly. If they're very underripe, they're going to take a while to squash, but that's okay. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to carefully lift this using a spatula, and I'm going to put it in my muffin tin. And drop it in. If it cracks, don't worry about it, because you can kind of push it together when you get it in the muffin tin. It may not come all the way up. Woo, that one cracked a little bit. That's okay. There we go. Whoops. And push them together in the bottom if they crack, because they do tend to crack, but hopefully they will come together in a minute. All right, these are the ones should be ready. Yes. Take those out. Now leave your oil on because you're going to need it. Chicken's almost done. Oops. That one did go a funny shape. Ah, that one fell apart a bit. I know it's very hard in the middle, I think, that one. Never mind. All right. Actually going to square this one off a little bit and make it a little easier to roll it out, I think. A bit better. All right, so that is 4 of them. See if these are cool enough. Now, if you do it with a plate, I'll just show you. Sometimes it's a bit easier, not always. Kept it a little straighter than the other one. Yes. Bit of pressure on it. Ugh, like that. Yes. I think in a way, now it's funny, when I did them the other day, they worked better using that thing, and today they're working better using the plate. So who knows? Right, 2 more. So as I said, these are going to go in your oven, your 350 oven, for about, let's say 7 minutes, and then we'll see how set they are. Ooh, that one went a bit haywire. All right. Got to push them fairly steady and firm, but they sometimes just kilo up. All right. And in there. Push them in, squeeze them in. Let me just check my chicken. I think it's probably done. Yes, looks done. A couple more minutes. Almost done. Almost done. All right. Now, when you've got these in your molds, if there is a little hole in the bottom, the nice thing about this plantain, you can kind of press it around, fill the hole. Okay. And hopefully these are going to dry out enough that we can do them. If they don't, we may just leave them in here and cook them for a bit longer and not put them in the back in the fryer. Okay. All right. So 350 oven. Let's start with 7 minutes. See what they look like. All right, I'm going to put it on here because I can see it better. Okay. And then, as I say, we're going to fry them. All right. I'm taking the lid off my beef mixture. I'm going to find a spatula. There we go. And let that reduce now a little bit. I didn't want it to reduce too much, but I want it a little drier than it is now. But I just didn't want it to reduce too quickly before it was all cooked together. All right. Okay. So what? I'm going to move this over a little bit, and we are going to cook our cheese balls. So they should be nice and firm now, all right? All right, so you're going to want another piece of paper towel, guys, to drain these. Nope. Now, we're not deep frying these. We're just doing them in some oil. So I'm going to grab my oil. I'm going to put about a good covering, like a 1/4 inch of oil in my pan. All right. I'm just going to do a few at a time. All right, my chicken is done. I'm going to take it out and I'm turning the oven off. And I'm leaving my mofongo in there so they warm up. All right. My chicken is all done here. A little bit of color on it. All right. And I'm going to let those sit right here till the oven has cooled down a wee bit, and then I'm going to put them back in there. All right. So you want your oil warm, obviously, for this. Paper towel ready. They're going to go into their golden brown, and then I'm out of paper towel. Used a lot today. And then they'll be done. All right. Now our sauce for these is mayonnaise and ketchup and an optional clove of garlic. All right, so we can mix those together in a minute. Nope. Oh, it's not heating up. There we go. So let your oil get nice and hot before you put these in, because otherwise they'll just absorb a lot of oil and we don't want that. All right, my oven has cooled a bit now, so I'm just going to slide. The oven is off, the top one. I'm just going to put my chicken back in there just to keep it warm. I'm going to leave the door half open for now because I don't want it to cook too much. All right, best way to see if these are done is to put one in or put a little bit of one in. See if it starts to sizzle. Not yet, so not quite done enough. All right. So I'm going to mix those sauce ingredients together. It's your mayo and ketchup, kind of basic, and then a clove of garlic, or you can put garlic salt in it or garlic powder. I'm going to grab another clove of garlic and just mix together. That's Mr. Clove of garlic. I haven't had enough garlic today. All right, so let's try one. Yes, they're sizzling. And that's what we want them to do. So I'm going to put a few in. I'm not going to put them all in. I'm going to put like 5 or 6 in this relatively small pan. You want to have room to move them around a bit. I'm going to find something to put them on. All right, let me get a clove of garlic for this. Grab my knife. Again, you want to chop your garlic nice and small for this. Get the garlic out. It doesn't want to come out. There we go. I'll put my slotted spoon notice. So just turn these once when they're golden brown on one side, then turn them over. And then you can turn them on a third side if they need, like a third angle if they need it. But wait until they're golden brown on the bottom. So my garlic for this, I'm just mincing it up nice and small. not getting cooked, so it wants to be really nice and small. You don't like garlic? Don't put garlic. You can put hot sauce in this as well if you wanted to. And then I'm just going to mix this together. That's my timer for my very basic sauce for this, but that's what's served with them. All right, so that's that right there. Let's see how these little guys are doing, and I'm going to take those little things out now. Ooh. So flip him over. There we go. Whoop. Should be using a spatula for this. It'd be a little easier, I think. All right. All right, let's see how firm they are. All right, I'm going to try one of these and see if it holds its shape. All right, when I take it out. But I'm going to leave them a couple of minutes to cool while we do these. So make sure they're golden brown all round. You may have to turn them again. I need to get a flat spatula. This is not working very well. There we go. That's easier. The flat spatula works much better. So when they're all nice and golden, pop them on your paper towel. All right, now I'm just going to take this off the heat for a second because I do want to try one of these guys and see how it's holding together. All right, so as I told you, it's sort of not an experiment, but it's not the traditional way of doing them. So I'm going to ease this around the side and see if it holds its shape. If it doesn't, I'm going to put them in for a bit longer, but I think it should. Get this little guy out. Here he comes. Come on. Grab a spoon. All right, so you see it's sort of holding its shape. I've lost a little bit on the side there, but it is holding its shape. So I am going to try it in here. I'm going to hold it in. Yes, they're holding their shape. As I say, they're not the prettiest thing, but it's to say it's the best way I think of doing this if you haven't got one of those contraptions. Oop, this one doesn't want to come out. Come on, guy. There we go. So you want to cook them again till they're golden, and then they're going to go back in here. All right, back into your thing. So let me show you how the other thing. Well, I can do it with these actually because they're the wrong shape now. I was going to show you how the other thing works, but so as I say, mine are holding their shape like this, which I hope yours are too. It's got to be very gentle getting them out. Ooh, and that one broke. All right, I'm going to use that with the other thing. I think I'm going to try. What do I do with that? There it is. So this little guy broke, so I'm going to actually pop him in here and see if I can get him to stick together in here. We'll see. So the one piece goes on the top like that, and you smush it together like that, and then you put it in. there's my first one. Lost a bit of its side, but never mind. Oh yeah, they're good. So a little rustic looking. Oh, this is probably my best one. Leave that there for a second. I'll get the other couple out if I can.
Quick question.
Yes.
Cheese balls are sticking to the paper towel. Did I do something wrong?
You probably, not really. You probably just got a little bit of your cheese has oozed out. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Woo! Ah, I dropped that one. Not very clever. Okay, there. All right, let's see how this guy is. Yeah, so I managed to get this one to hold together again. So I'm going to pop these back in here, the ones that have cooled. And I did get this one to just about hold together. So that was good. Except now I've broken it again. Never mind. All right, let's get these two out. That one's done. Right, I'm going to try and do one with this bit that I broke. Ow, hot. That was hot. Of course it was. All right, I'm going to press this one in and do that one the same way. Woo. There we go. So I got 6 of them, 7 of them. I lost one. Tastes good though. The ones that you've done, you want to mix a sprinkle with some garlic salt, okay? And then your, my cheese balls a minute. All right, I'm going to pop these ones in here. So your mixture, we're going back to our beef mixture now. Your mixture, you're going to put in these, a spoonful in, or a good spoonful. If you lost one, you're going to have a bit left over, I think. Into your plantain shells. Okay. Ooh, got a little bit of spare parsley there. There we go. And we're going to top them with a bit of cheese. Oh, put in that one. Top them with a generous amount of cheese. And then they're going to go back in the oven, really just until the cheese melts. Okay. All right, let me see if I can get this guy out. I'm not sure whether I can. We will see. This is the one I broke. So, no, it's not coming out. No. All right. We'll leave that. 6 good ones. And you can turn your oil off now. Okay, and then they're going to go in your oven 5-6 minutes. All right, that's it. I have some stuff left over. I'm going to just try a bit and make sure it tastes good because I have a piece of my even the broken ones, it tastes good. All right, I'm going to reheat my oil and finish my cheese balls. And we're getting there. We're running over a couple of minutes, guys, but not too terrible. All right, I think my oil is hot, so I'm going to do the rest of my cheese balls. And then all we have to do is to heat up our liquid and add the shrimp to it, and then we'll be done. So I'm going to leave those there a second, just clean up some of this horrible mess I made. So put a little bit of heat under your tomato for the shrimp, for the carafungo. All right. Because we're going to just reheat that, and then to that we're going to add our shrimp and the fish broth. All right, to that. I've got flour everywhere. Makes such a mess in my kitchen. All right, so for yeah, I'm just going to put a little bit in a bowl. I'm a fungo in a second. All right, so my tomato. This is my tomato mixture for my shrimp. All right. To that, I'm going to add my fish broth and my shrimp. All right. And I'm going to heat that up to cook just enough to cook the shrimp. Okay, and then the only other thing we want to do is to mince a little bit of fresh cilantro to go on the top. All right, which I'm going to do right here because I've got my chopping board over here. So just chop up some cilantro small. There we go. So we are just cooking those shrimp long enough for the shrimp to get pink. All right, I'm going to change these over. Woo. I'm just turning the rest of my cheese balls over because they're only cooked on one side. I don't want to turn over. There we go. Those are my tostones. The cheese is melted on the top. All right. And I'm going to pop those on a little plate, and then we are pretty much done. All right, here's the rest of my cheebles. I ended up putting them in a towel because I used all my paper towel. There we go. Take a couple of these out, I think. Ugh. They're very hot at the moment. There we go. Yeah, I'm just going to leave the 3 of those out. Leave those in there for now. So those are our plantain cups. So with the carafungo, putting a few of these in the bottom of here and spooning a couple of those really large shrimp over the top and a little bit of the sauce. Okay. And that is those. And then the final thing is our chicken. Need another mix. So for those, I'm just going to put them in a little shallow, sorry, my sprinkling of cilantro. And then the chicken, just beautifully cooked. And you would serve it obviously on the skewers. They would sell it on the skewers like this. And c'est fini. You could even put a little bit of cilantro on top of these. Move my tray. We ran a little over, but I hope that wasn't a problem for anybody. How did everybody do? We all did okay? Thumbs up. I didn't lose you. I hope not. I nearly lost myself, but I hope I didn't lose you. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've done, or maybe something you missed or anything? Please unmute yourself and ask me, and I can help you. I know these little guys are kind of tricky to do, but they're kind of fun. Again, they're meant to look kind of rustic, and mine weren't beautiful either. So it's kind of in the luck of the draw with the with squashing those plantain. It's a little tricky, I think, really. But I just thought it was an interesting dish to do, something a little bit different. So, all right. So I think we're all finished.